All right, let's jump right in. We're going to break down a complete financial strategy built from the ground up for anyone who's starting from absolute scratch in 2026. This isn't about hype or some get rich quick nonsense. It's a mathematical roadmap. I want you to really picture this. It's January 1st. You wake up, check your bank account, and it's at zero. Zip. Nada. Now, you have a job, sure, but that's it. For most people, that's a moment of just pure paralysis. The anxiety is so thick, you just want to pull the covers right back over your head and call it a day. And honestly, why wouldn't you feel that way? You look at your phone and the headlines are just screaming at you about crazy interest rates, AI taking over, impossible housing prices. It's so easy to just throw your hands up and think, you know what? The game is rigged, so why even bother picking up the controller? But here's the twist. Here's the counterintuitive idea. What if starting from absolute zero is actually an advantage? A totally clean slate, no baggage. Because there is a clear, actionable playbook for this exact scenario. A mathematical path that lets you ignore all that noise and just focus on what actually works. And this is that playbook. It's broken down into 4 very distinct phases. First, we escape the trap. Then, we build our buffer. After that, we become the automatic investor. And finally, the fun part, we supercharge our income. That is the complete sequence. So let's start with phase 1, escaping the trap. Because before we even whisper the word investing, we have to deal with this invisible anchor that is actively pulling us backward. We call this the negative compounding trap. And it's so much more than just a monthly payment. It's a powerful force that's working in reverse, literally eating your future wealth before you even get a chance to build it. It's like trying to fill a bucket that has no bottom. It's just impossible. And just think about the sheer force of that drag. An average interest rate of 24%, that's not a small leak, okay? That is a gaping hole in your financial ship. Every single dollar you earn is fighting against this insane current. So, here's the punchline. This is the most important part. Paying off that debt isn't an expense. It is an investment. In fact, it's the single best investment you can possibly make. You're getting a guaranteed tax-free return of over 20%. You literally cannot find that anywhere else, not without taking on some absolutely massive risk. And that right there is the real prize. It's not just about the math. Getting to zero debt, it completely changes your mindset. You shift from a place of scarcity to a place of opportunity. It unlocks your ability to take calculated risks, to negotiate for what you're actually worth, to finally start playing offense instead of defense. Okay, let's move on to phase 2 and see how this all stacks up. So, the debt is gone. You might be tempted to just dive right into the stock market. But that, my friends, is a classic mistake. We need to build a fortress first. Just consider this scenario. You've got Investor A. They're all in, fully invested. Then there's Investor B, who's holding back 3 to 6 months of expenses in cash. Suddenly, the market crashes and they both lose their jobs. Who wins? It's not even a contest. It's Investor B every single time because they are never forced to sell their assets at the absolute worst possible moment. You see, this cash buffer isn't just insurance. It's a source of power. It changes your entire posture. You're not desperate anymore. You can look at a market downturn not as some catastrophe, but maybe, just maybe, as a potential opportunity because your basic survival isn't tied to the daily stock ticker. So here's your actionable target. You're going to calculate your bare bones survival number, just rent, food, utilities. Multiply that number by 3. That is your goal. You park that money in a high-yield savings account and you do not touch it. This is your foundation. Okay, the foundation is set. Now, and only now, are we ready for phase 3, becoming the automatic investor. This is where we build the actual engine for our wealth. And the key is to embrace being boring. I'm serious. So many people, so many, think they can outsmart the market. But just look at this data. This is incredible. Over a 15-year period, more than 90% of the highly paid professionals, the pros, fail to beat a simple index fund. If they can't do it, what makes us think we can? The math is clear. Reliability beats lottery tickets every time. And this leads us to the core satellite approach. It's basically a way to hack our own psychology. 90% of your money goes into the core. That's the boring, low-cost, broad market index funds. The other 10%, that's your satellite. That's your permission slip to speculate, to gamble a little. It satisfies that urge to act without risking your entire future on a hunch. But hang on, here's the next leak, the one that almost everybody misses. You can pick the perfect fund and still lose a huge chunk of your wealth. How? One word, taxes. Where your money lives is just as important as what it's invested in. This right here, this is the order of operations. Think of it like a cheat code. The government literally gives you a rule book for building wealth with huge tax advantages, and this is it. You follow this waterfall precisely. First, get that 401k match. It's free money, people. Then you max out a Roth IRA, where all your money grows and can be withdrawn completely tax-free in retirement. It's amazing. Then an HSA. If you have one, that's a health savings account with a triple tax advantage. Then you go back and fill up the rest of your 401k. Only after every single one of these buckets is totally full do you even think about putting money in a normal taxable account. And now for the final phase, the great accelerator, supercharging your income. Think about it. You can only save so much, but there is no ceiling on how much you can earn. This is how you really win the game. And here's a really critical distinction. A side hustle, driving for an app or something, that gives you linear income. You stop driving, you stop earning. But investing in a high leverage skill that boosts your primary salary, that gives you compounding income. A $20,000 raise doesn't just pay you once, it pays you every single year, it boosts your 401k match, and it compounds for the rest of your career. It's a total game changer. So, the protocol here is something called the skill audit. You need to sit down and ask yourself a very serious question. What is the one skill that, if I truly mastered it, would make me absolutely indispensable at my job? Is it public speaking, a specific software, data analysis? Find that skill and then dedicate an hour a day to becoming the best at it. So that's it. That's the whole strategy. 4 phases that take you from zero to building serious, sustainable wealth. Let's just recap the entire playbook one last time. This is what we call the Get Wealthy for Sure scheme. It's pretty simple. 1. Systematically hunt down and kill all your high-interest debt. 2. Build your 3-month cash fortress for stability and peace of mind. 3. Automate your investing into those boring, tax-shielded index funds. And 4, aggressively invest in the skills that jack up your main source of income. It's not sexy, I'll give you that, but it absolutely works. Look, we've laid out the entire map for you. The math is sound, the path is clear. The only variable left in this whole equation is you. So the real question isn't whether the playbook works. We know it does. The real question is, what is the one skill that you could master that would pour gasoline on this fire and truly, absolutely 10x your results?